Welcome to the Knowledge Seeker channel. The channel is dedicated to exploring critical issues in the world. This presentation is titled Map of Biafra. Avoid making the same mistake. This is the flag of the Republic of Biafra. The new generation of Biafrans, starting from the inauguration of the Movement for the Actualization of Sovereign State of Biafra, that is MASOB, in 1999, and continuing with the indigenous people of Biafra, that is IPOB, and other groups, have done a marvelous job in articulating and promoting the actualization of the Republic of Biafra. Like their predecessors, who worked tirelessly and fearlessly, including fighting a bloody civil war from July 1967 to January 1970, the Biafrans have been able to globalize the demand for a referendum and the establishment of the Republic of Biafra. They have been able to do so despite the risks involved, including arrest, detention, brutalization, and even killings by security forces to stop them. The fact that Nnamdi Kanu is still held by the Department of State Service, that is the DSS, is a testament to their commitment to the struggle to actualize Biafra. As a result of the sacrifices being made to realize the dream, the issue of Biafra is discussed daily in Nigeria and in other parts of the world. The purpose of this presentation is to accomplish two goals. One, examine the proposed Biafran maps being publicized, and two, offer a cautionary note to what could happen by including groups that do not want to be part of Biafra in the Biafran map. In order to accomplish the goals of the presentation, the following arguments are made. One, having lived through the Civil War and the post-Civil War era, it is argued here that while the new generation of Biafrans have done an excellent job in articulating the need for the establishment of the Republic of Biafra, they are repeating the same mistake that their predecessors made in including ethnic groups that do not want to be part of the Republic of Biafra in their map. And two, the inclusion of ethnic groups that have not expressively declared their desire to be part of Biafra could be a strategic mistake that could lead to the failure to achieve Biafra. Now, let's look at the different maps of the proposed new Biafra. There are about 5 proposed maps for the Republic of Biafra. One map is basically a replication of the old Biafran map, which regarded the former eastern region of Nigeria as the Republic of Biafra. Under this map, the 5 southeast states, in addition to Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Bayelsa states are regarded as the Republic of Biafra. As you can see, this is the Nigerian map. At the bottom of the map, you can see the darkened side on the right side of the map. That part of the map is the former eastern region of Nigeria, which was the basis for fighting the Biafran War in the 1960s, and which some of the new Biafrans still regard as the Republic of Biafra. Again, this is the eastern region that is also now being considered as Biafra. You have the same region again with different names. Here they have the Ijaw, which represents Ijaw nation, then Ala Igbo, that is the Igbo section, then the Oyona, which is the Cross River section, like that, but it's still part of the former eastern region. The second Biafran map includes the former eastern region and Delta state. This means that the 5 southeast states, in addition to Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Bayelsa, and Delta states, make up the proposed Republic of Biafra. Now you can see the map. So here you have the former eastern region plus Delta state. See, Warri is in Delta state. Ughelli is in Delta state, as you can see. So here the Biafra map is extended from the former eastern region to include Delta state. This is the same map. The third proposed map includes the former eastern region in addition to sections of Delta, Kogi, and Benue states. Thus, this map includes Edo in Edo state, Igala in Kogi state, and Idoma in Benue state, in addition to the former eastern region and Delta state. So here, the Biafran territory is expanded to include not only the former eastern region, but including Delta, sections of Edo state, Igala in Kogi state, and Idoma in Benue state. So this is a much larger Biafran territory. You can see how extended it is. The fourth map includes the 5 southeast states, a section of River State, and Anioma in Delta State. In this map, the Biafran size is slightly reduced, and it includes the 5 southeast states, a section of River State, which here is called Ogba, and Anioma, which is a section of Delta State. This map does not include Warri, and it does not include Akwa Ibom and Cross Rivers. It's basically the 5 southeast states of Igbo land plus sections of River State and Anioma in Delta State. The fifth map of Biafra is limited to the southeast states. The states are Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo. So here, the Biafra map is reduced to the 5 states of Igbo land. And the 5 states are what? The Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo state. It does not extend to Delta state. It does not extend to the entire former eastern region, just the 5 states of Igbo land in the southeast. Now, let's look at the problems with the Biafran maps. The first, second, third, and fourth maps that are being explained are basically a recipe for the failure to achieve the Republic of Biafra. Why? The reason is that the Ibibios, the Ogonis, Ijaws, Itsekiris, Isokos, and Urobos, in addition to other groups, have expressly declared their opposition to being included in the Biafran map. The Efik nationality, through their leadership, declared, and I quote, "The indigenous people of Biafra, that is IPOB, a group championing the agitation for the creation of sovereign state of Biafra, have been warned by Efik Apex Group, the Efik Leadership Foundation, to desist from further inclusion of the Efik people in their shenanigans." And I unquote. This is the leadership of the Efik nationality warning that they do not want to be part of Biafra. In response to being included in the Biafran map, a socio-cultural group known as the Mboho Mparawa Ibibio in Akwa Ibom state stated, and I quote, "protested against the reported inclusion of the state in an imaginary Biafran map," and I unquote. The Ibibio People's Union, that is the IPU, agrees with the Mboho Mparawa Ibibio by expressing, and I quote, "dismay at the inclusion of their territory in the proposed map of Biafra Republic, saying they will not be part of the secessionist agenda," and I unquote. So here you have the Ibibios warning and saying that they do not want to be part of Biafra. Speaking on behalf of the Urobo nation, former Senator Ovie Omo Agege stated, and I quote, "With the deluge of concerns being raised by my people, it has become necessary to state with absolute clarity, as the senator for the Urobo nation in the 8th Senate of our Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the Urobo nation has never been, is not, and does not wish to be part of Biafra," and I unquote. So here you have the Urobo saying that they do not want to be part of Biafra. The Ijaw Youth Council, speaking on behalf of the Ijaw nation, responded to the inclusion of Ijaw land in the Biafran map by saying, and I quote, "It should be noted that the Ijaw are not in any way against the genuine aspirations of all people, including the IPOB, to attain self-determination or secession, as the case may be. We Ijaw people are not Biafrans. Therefore, if or when any Ijaw person or group feel a sense of allegiance to Biafra and speak in his favor, let it be known that such statements are the personal opinions of such persons, which do not reflect the thoughts, views, and wishes of the entire Ijaw nation and the Niger Delta people, and I unquote. So here you have the Ijaw Youth Council informing the Biafrans that they do not want to be part of Biafra. The Itsekiri leaders of thought responded to the inclusion of Itsekiri nation in the Biafran map by saying, and I quote, "Itsekiri homeland of Warri is not part of that enterprise. We recall with pains the day the defunct Biafra army invaded Warri and Benin in the then Midwestern region on the 9th of August 1967 and say never again will the Itsekiri tolerate such an invasion." And I unquote. The opposition is seconded by the Itsekiri Progress Club. So here you have the Itsekiris informing the world that they do not want to be part of Biafra and should not be included in the Biafran map. Now, let's look at the 4 conditions for seeking independence based on the Montevideo Convention of 1933. According to the Montevideo Convention, any political community or group seeking independence must meet or have the following preconditions. 1. The group must have an indigenous population. 2. A defined territory. 3. An autonomous government. And 4. And have an ability to establish relations with other sovereign states. In other words, any political community or ethnic group that is seeking independence must meet these 4 conditions in order for the group to be considered for recognition. Now, let's look at the first condition. The first condition, which is what? The indigenous population. The first requirement of the Montevideo Convention of International Law is that any political community or nation or group that seeks independence must have an indigenous population. This means that a group seeking independence must clearly show that it has an indigenous population that will make up the state if it gains independence. The majority of the population will agree to the decision to succeed or form a new sovereign state. 2. A defined territory. A second condition or characteristic that a group or nation that wishes to gain independence and become a sovereign state must meet is that it must have a defined territory. It is necessary for a political community seeking independence to clearly show that it has a defined territory that will serve as the territory for the new state if it gains independence. This further means that the people in the territory must agree with the decision to establish an independent state from an existing sovereign state. Condition 3, that is, having an autonomous government. The third condition or characteristic that any political community or nation must meet in order to achieve political independence and become a sovereign state is that the group must possess an autonomous government. This requirement is important because a political community seeking independence must show clearly that it has a government that is identified with the population and recognized as a legitimate authority in running the affairs of the state. Fourth, to have the capacity to establish relations with other sovereign states. That is the fourth condition. The fourth condition or characteristic of the Montevideo Convention of International Law is that a group or a political community seeking independence must have the ability to establish relations with other sovereign states. Any political community or nation that wishes to gain independence and become a sovereign state must be capable of receiving diplomatic recognition from other states. So this make up the 4 major requirements for a group to seek independence. Here, the preconditions of the Montevideo Convention is applied to the Biafra map in order to determine whether the Biafra map meets the conditions stipulated. In the case of the Republic of Biafra, the fact that ethnic groups or nationalities that do not want to be part of Biafra are included in the Biafra map shows that the Biafrans are not meeting the criteria or preconditions for seeking independence under international law as spelled out by the Montevideo Convention of 1933. Why? Let's look at the reasons. 1. Thus, the requirement that a group seeking independence must have an indigenous population is not being met here because the proposed Biafran population includes ethnic groups that do not want to be part of Biafra. 2. The requirement that a group seeking independence must have a territory or a defined territory is not being met because of the inclusion of the territories of ethnic groups that do not want to be part of Biafra. 3. The requirement that a group seeking independence must have an autonomous government is not being met since the population and territory of the proposed Republic of Biafra are controversial. An autonomous government can only come into play when the population of the proposed republic agrees with the decision to form a separate country. Fourth, the ability to establish relations with other sovereign states is partially met in the sense that Biafran organizations have been able to meet officials of various governments and organizations indirectly. However, since there is no clarity on the population and territory, that creates a problem in justifying an indigenous government. Since there is no general agreement on what constitutes Biafra, there are competing Biafran organizations. This means that it would be difficult to gain official diplomatic recognition even from states that are sympathetic to the Biafran cause. It should be noted that one reason the defunct Republic of Biafra had only 5 diplomatic recognitions during the Civil War, even though the Biafran information system was far more effective than that of Nigeria, was due to the fact that the United Nations and the sovereign states knew that the Republic of Biafra had controversial population and territory because the minority ethnic groups in eastern Nigeria did not want to be included in Biafra. Hence, only Gabon, Haiti, Ivory Coast, Tanzania, and Zambia recognized Biafra, while France offered support but did not give full diplomatic recognition. Now, let's look at the reason why minority groups opposed inclusion in Biafra or in the Republic of Biafra. 1. Minority ethnic groups throughout Nigeria have consistently opposed being included in any political arrangement involving them and the major ethnic groups. The reason is that Nigeria is probably the only African country with 3 of the largest ethnic groups in the continent, namely the Hausa Fulani, Igbo, and Yoruba. 2. Because these ethnic groups have considerable populations, minority groups always feel that they would be dominated and absorbed, thereby losing their uniqueness, identity, language, and culture. So now you can see why they don't want to join any majority group. 3. The only way they can survive is to separate themselves from the major ethnic groups. 4. Hence, even before independence, that is the minority groups, demanded the creation of states during the Henry Willings Commission hearings in 1957-1958. Even though states were not created before independence, they continued to demand separation from the major ethnic groups. In the eastern region, the minorities demanded the creation of the Calabar-Ugoja Rivers State, otherwise known as the core state, in order to separate themselves from the much larger Igbo ethnic group. Five, the minority groups in the West succeeded in gaining a region when the Midwest region was established in 1963. The minorities in the North and in the East did not gain statehood and continue to be part of the Northern and Eastern regions. 6. Eventually, General Yakubu Gowon finally created 12 states from the 4 regions on June 27, 1967. The Eastern region was broken into East Central State, Southeastern State, and Rivers State. 7. When Biafra was declared on May 30, 1967, the minorities in Eastern region had already gotten their states and did not want to be part of Biafra. 8. Due to the fear of being overwhelmed, dominated, and absorbed by much larger ethnic groups, it is doubtful whether any minority group will ever form a political union with any of the major ethnic groups in Nigeria. Therefore, it is doubtful whether any of the minority groups will ever join Republic of Biafra or Oduduwa Republic and or Arewa Islamic Republic. They prefer to form political alliances with those ethnic groups that have similar characteristics so that they can continue to maintain their identity and existence. In conclusion, the following suggestions are made to the Biafrans. 1. Biafrans, be reflective about why the minority ethnic groups do not want to be part of Biafra. 2. Go back to the drawing board and draw or develop a map of Biafra that only represents those that want to be part of the Republic of Biafra. If the map represents only those that want to be part of Biafra, then the population and territorial issues will be resolved. 3. That will make it much easier to gain support and diplomatic recognition from countries that do not want to embroil themselves in territorial disputes of Biafra. 4. Such a map will meet the criteria or preconditions of the Montevideo Convention of 1933. 5. Some of these ethnic groups can even marshal their political support for you to gain the Republic of Biafra by putting pressure on Nigeria to conduct a referendum. On the other hand, if the Biafrans continue to include minority groups in the Biafran map, if a war erupts, they are most likely to join Nigeria against Biafra, like what happened before, that is during the Civil War. 6. The fact that some minority youths support Biafra does not mean that their ethnic groups support Biafra. And 7. Do not make the same mistake and expect a different outcome. The reason is that in the Civil War, the Biafran leaders included minority groups that did not want to be part of Biafra. So when the war erupted, the minority groups joined the Nigerian side in order to remove themselves from Biafra. So do not repeat the same mistake again. Thank you for listening to these presentations. Please subscribe to the channel and listen to other interesting presentations. Again, thank you very much.